same thing they signed up for when you first got in. So I wanted a challenge, and I wanted to be motivated, and I was kind of missing that challenge. So that's where we're going to start, and then kind of how Breton Air came to be and the hurdles that we faced. And we're a small group, so just hop in at any time and carry on. So that's myself on the left, or the right, I suppose, and Matt. So we first met in 2005 at the military college. Matt is from Bowundry, seeking pilot. His whole life loved aviation, from the cadets going up through. So flying is his passion. As a kid, I grew up in PEI. I always had that entrepreneurial aspect. My favorite business I ever had was when I was 16. I learned that, there's nothing illegal about water, sugar, and yeast. So I put on my own little home business that I won't go into too much detail about it, but it was very lucrative, to say the least. So that's our backgrounds, both from small towns. We're really glad to be here in Sydney because we have that same small community and supportive vibe. So even with Coastal being here, like, everybody has really supported who we are and what we're doing. And we wouldn't get that anywhere else. So the first thing is passion. What is it? It's a strong inclination towards an activity that people like, that they find important, and we're saying invest time and energy into. And I promise the first little bit will be the only academic part of this presentation. But I was chatting with Dr. Kevin Kellaway. He's a very respected prof at SMU, and he started telling me a story about, just painting a picture. He's like, there you are, you're 10 years away from your pension, you're counting down the days. How many people here, they know to the day when they're going to retire? And he's like, oh man, and he's just started peeling off things, and we started with the passion, like what's passion versus motivation, and how do they connect? And that's the question he continually told me to ask myself. He's like, what is your passion? He's like what do you care about? And then he asked me, he's like, well, what motivates you? And I'm not going to get into a great deal about myself, but these are more things for yourself to consider on a daily basis. Understanding the difference between passion and motivation. So motivation is an internal state. You can't really qualify what it is, and people will have many different definitions. Basically it comes down to your direction. What are you going to be doing? Your persistence. Is this something that you're going to be doing for a short time or a long time? So for myself, with the military example, my persistence would have been the, effective 14 years I contributed to the organization. And then I was losing my motivation, so I looked for change. And the intensity is, how hard are you going after this? How much do you love what you're doing? Which goes to the Mayer and Allen model, which I like the most. It really simplifies what motivation is and how to think about it. So we have the affective, which is, I do this every day because I fucking love it and I want to do it, and it's the best thing ever. I wake up, sleep about it, I think about it, it's my passion. And then there's the continuance. And the continuance is the level of motivation that I quickly realized that I wasn't before. So that's, I let 17-year-old Parker dictate what 30-year-old Parker was going to do. I made a decision when I was younger to be this. I'm going to get a pension, I'm going to retire, and then I'm going to drink a bunch of rum in my college PEI, make 40 grand a year is perfect, But that started to fade, You go to nursing school. I'm trained to be a nurse, therefore I'm a nurse, now I'm a nurse. You do it because you feel like you have to, and you set a commitment, and now you're stuck with it. So your motivation isn't at the right level because you may not have changed to adapt as you personally grow. And the normative is, I don't care what I'm doing, I have to put a roof over my head and food in my stomach. So there's nothing really wrong with either of them. They're just, you're going to be at different stages and different motivation levels at any given time in your life. You should probably strive to be in the effective, because that's where you're doing what you're motivated about and what you're passionate about. And that's what schooled kind of us looking at Breton Air on a serious perspective, at least from my side. So we'll get into the story. Well, before we go to story time, is there a quick question on that before I move on? That's all I really want. Okay. So story time. In early 2016, my business partner, Matt, was approached by the then CEO, Mary Tull of Destination Cape Breton. She said, Matt, they were good friends from just years ago, and they said, I'm talking to the GMs at the different resorts, and we need helicopter services up here. Like, I know you're a pilot, I know you're from Blue Island, just come home and start a helicopter company. And Matt was heading out the door to Haiti, and I was just starting school. And anyway, Matt called me up, and he's like, you know what? We should probably look at starting up a helicopter company. I kind of laughed, and then we thought about it. And believe it or not, I don't love or hate helicopters. I'm in the Air Force, and what I realized is my motivation is I wanted to be able to create something so I could do more and build more. So my motivation was creating something so I could create more. If you just create for the sake of making money, you know, what's the true value in that? Unless that's what you want and that's what you value, then fill your boots. So I started my MBA, and every single class that I did through it, it gave us a 2-year deliver planning process to go, is this viable? Can we do it? Is it sustainable? And you look at a business model like ours, it's extremely high cost. The barriers to entry are significant. We have to get an operating license from Transport Canada, which is a feat in amongst itself. Basically the same paperwork that Air Canada has to let you fly commercially. So our maintenance has to be spot on, our pilots have to be spot on, and anyway, that was a bit of a process. So we took it on, and we had a hell of a time doing it. We went down to helicopter expos in Dallas. We're the youngest people there by about 30 years. And we had a great time. We learned a lot, and we signed up for classes, and we kept learning through the whole time, because business outside the military is significantly different from what I'm used to, or here's all your money, Parker, go spend things and make it happen, versus I need to worry about dollars and cents coming in. So graduated in 2018, business plan was flying, it was done, that was the thesis, and we decided we're going to pull the trigger, which is a pretty big step. Put my release into the military. It was a pretty unnerving thing, going from making pretty good money to no money, so that was fun. And during that whole time, we were working on our deal. We used our business plan, and we applied it in real life. So this day was probably one of the coolest and most humbling days we had throughout the journey. So with our connections for the 2 years of building the business, we know people in the industry from BC to Australia and everywhere in between. We convinced Airbus to send us a $6 million helicopter at their expense to Halifax to fly a billionaire around the province while we pitched to him in the back. It was super cool. He loved the whole business plan. He was blown away with the presentation, because I've never given a presentation in a helicopter before, and it was sick. This thing was VIP as could be. So later that evening, we go back to the bar, have a couple more drinks, hammer it out, and just like that, we have $1 million. We gave 25% equity stake in our company. If Breton Air is good to go, we're fully funded, and we're like, holy shit, that was really easy. We're like, why didn't we do this forever ago? And then this happened. So shake the individual's hand, have a deal, and we're going through the due diligence process, and they come through and they just like, yeah, no, whatever, and they went on their own way. It was a sickening day. I think Matt was physically ill, and I was much in the same boat. It was pretty shitty, because we put all this time and effort. I put my release into the military. This deal falls through. I have nothing on the go. And now I'm contemplating, I'm like, did I make the right decision? Can we make this happen? So we're like, so Literally less than 24 hours later, we get a phone call from a broker who's good friends of ours in BC. We kind of told him the story, and he's like, listen, I know this guy in Australia, and he wants me to sell the Bell 412, and I can sell it for him tomorrow. We get the money, no problem. But I told him about you guys, what you're doing, so he's interested. So we send him the business plan. He goes through it. He flies from Australia. We meet up in Victoria. We have a meeting which consists of us starting to drink around 10 a.m., finished around midnight. And he's like, my good boys, we're going to make this work. And I said, sweet. So we flew to Australia. And that is our helicopter. What a rig, right? So with Jan from Australia, he saw what we're doing, saw the kind of genuinity and like the sincereness of what we're actually trying to do, come back to the community and work for ourselves. That was our key motivator. And he's like, all right, I want to get you boys up and running. So he gave us a deal that doesn't exist in the industry. We have 0% down on this helicopter. We have no monthly minimums to fly, and it's only on a pay-per-use basis. There's no other way that two kids, guys, man, whatever you want to call us, leaving the military, would be able to start a helicopter company with no funds from anybody. So him doing this really put us on a step. We're back in, it's game time. We're going. So we're full steam ahead. We're working, trying to get all our money squared away. We have a ridiculous deal with a helicopter. So now we go to the banks. We're military guys. We leverage our pension money. We get traditional funding through BMO and then credit union, and then they start fighting to give us money, which was a very refreshing feeling. We also got support from Coastal and COA. So things are coming along really well. And then March. So Jan, this kind of sucks. He's putting a ton of money into it. He's doing a complete overhaul in the helicopter. So he's putting over $1 million US into it for us. It's called a 5,000-hour inspection. When we're getting this helicopter, it's basically zero-time brand new. Anyway, when you do this type of stuff, you often incur delays. So now we're in March. We wanted to have this helicopter on the ground by mid-May at the latest operational, so we could take advantage of growing our presence, have our certificate in place from Transport Canada, and really get going. But as you can see, we don't have it. So it's really hard to be a helicopter company without a helicopter. And at the same time, we just signed a 20-year lease on the 12,000 square foot hangar at the airport with no helicopter and no license to operate. And, honestly, all extremely good decisions, right? So we looked at the building, and this is our other company, Gateway Sydney. And, I can't stress the importance of building good relationships. And there's FBO in Halifax. FBO is a fixed-based operator. We provide all the fueling, parking services for jets. So there's an individual in Halifax, Steve Christensen. He owns Gateway facilities there. So I swing by all the time. The general manager was the logistics officer in the RAF. I was a logistics officer in the RCF. We nerded out about things that nobody else cared about. We got along well. He taught me quite a bit about the FBO. And one day I hopped in Steve's truck. This girl's like, you should probably tell Steve about this. And he's like, no, Steve was adamant he will not invest in anything that he can't be hands-on in. So we went for a 15-minute ride, and at the end of it, he was like, oh, I think we have a play here. I think I see potential. He's like, I like you boys. So at that point, he decided to go 50-50 with us on Gateway Sydney. And we retained 100% of the helicopter business. But the only issue is that was contingent on us having a helicopter, which we now have not yet received that helicopter from Australia, but it is coming. So we were looking at options, and there were connections. We're going to lease a couple different berths. We're looking at transit costs are going to be pretty expensive, but we were just going to eat it because we're like, the most important thing we can do right now is save phase, get up and running, and we'll work on it later. A partner from Halifax, Steve, he's like, screw it. I said I was going to have nothing to do with this. but I'm going to buy his helicopter. So he bought this helicopter, and then we leased it from him. And this setup still is much better than any other traditional lease we had in place. It's with our business partner, and it really set us up for success. So on the 16th of August, we said, we put in our plan on the 1st of June, we wanted to receive our helicopter. It just so happened that we got JTO Caper 1 on the 1st of June. So that was just fortunate, good luck. And we kind of thought of it that the day after, actually. So that was pretty cool. So now we're fully up and running. We serviced quite a few jets, different private aviations, different medical vac clients coming from the States. It's a full service lounge, and the helicopter service complements it really well. So the Bell 412 is coming in November. It's still a real helicopter, and the deal's the same. But the shifts and the constant changes to the business plan were probably the most daunting thing throughout. We had money, we didn't have money. We had a plan, we didn't have a plan. And that was consistent throughout it. So this is a quote that I think you got to read it a couple times, actually. So if you freeze an idea too quickly, you fall in love with it. If you refine it too quickly, you become attached to it, and it becomes very hard to keep exploring, to looking for better. The crudeness of the early models in particular is very deliberate. So what that really means is, everybody here, you're here probably because you're interested in entrepreneurship or technology. You're looking at doing something for yourself. Our initial model had us running circuits based out of Halifax, going around the Maritimes, flying Bell 407 helicopters. Our helicopter of choice switched about 6 times, and our area of operation completely shifted. The first thing we did is we assessed what the market required, and then we looked at how do we fill that. So we never took anything off the table. Everything was always an option until we actually had to make the move. In Sydney, 1 out of 10 full. We're renting a hangar for equivalent of what we'd be paying the Parker helicopter in Halifax, basically. Now we have 2 successful businesses, and the support from the community, the mayor, and everything here is not comparable to the support we would receive, say, if we did operate in Halifax, because we'd be noise there. We would just fall through the cracks, and we wouldn't have the community members coming out to support us like they have been. So never get stuck on an idea, never be afraid to change it, and it doesn't matter how many times you hit that curve, if your plan is still good and your service or your technology or whatever you're delivering is still good, there's probably another way. And then the next lesson is just find your passion and understand what your motivation is, and let that kind of dictate. So I went from having your standard 8 to 4 job, which is reality a 10 to 2 job with an hour at the gym in between, to working about 16 to 18 hours a day and never being happier. So it's that's the presentation. And I think we have a couple. I don't know. You do the prize?
Yeah.
Sure. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Parker?
Yeah.
When I understand the crudeness, like you were planning the beginning, but when you were looking at doing this, of course, there's never been a helicopter company in Quebec before.
Yeah.
Were there comparable regions, or did you do
a
survey or something to figure out whether there's need there?
So it's funny. It was actually my most highly contested course I did in my MBA was my marketing class, because the prof was like, "Oh, there's nothing there to validate it with." And I was like, "Well, if you look at the whole world and you look at a region," so we looked at Iceland, and Iceland had I can't remember off the top of my head, there was 10 different operators conducting tours. They had half the amount of people and not near as much tourism. And I'm like, it's sustainable there. And then we looked at many other indicators besides just helicopter. So we see the cruise ship terminal. That's a huge opportunity. We're in chats with the port to have a helipad put down there next summer. And that's allowing us to already look at growing. And as of today, confirm in a week or two, we may have a dedicated helicopter with floats for next summer just to do that. So by next summer, we may be up to 3 helicopters already. So I'd say there's crude, but you have to find your things that you can relate it to, and then just go with it. Because everybody's going to tell you that they wouldn't do it for a bunch of reasons. And the only reason that nobody put a helicopter company up here is because it's seasonal and it's not sustainable. But Cape Breton's the #1 island in North America, and we have 3 of the top 10 golf courses in Canada. We're putting in developments left, right, and center. The treetop up in Naked Nish, the farm in Marguerite, we can go on. So there's potential here now, but we're entering at the right time, for sure.
I noticed your pitches tend to happen mobile. You did one in a helicopter and one in a truck.
Yeah.
Coincidental or?
No. Well, maybe honestly, like we talked about that, and so the first pitch was a deliberate pitch where we sat down and we had objectives. We wanted to get this out of it, and everything that went well for us, we never asked for a thing. At no point did we ask our partner Steve to buy us a helicopter. We told him not to. We're like, don't buy us a helicopter. Crazy. Like, don't do it. We'll find another way. He's like, no, I want to. I was like, you don't have to partner with us in the FBO, and he wanted to. With the banks, obviously we asked for money, but no, I found just having good conversations kind of led to things. It's not like the Dragon's Den, which was our first experience where we just, here's $1 million and we're laughing. That was the best thing because we gave up 0% equity in the helicopter company, and we couldn't have a better partner in the FBO. So that's a huge thing.
What about the heliport for Sydney? Is that how's that coming along?
Right down here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's looking really good. So on the 16th of October, I'll pitch the business plan to them and just say, the economics of it just make pure sense. So this year we had 107 cruise ships coming in. There's over 200,000 visitors. What happens is these visitors get off the plane and they're off the boat, and then they disperse for 4 to 8 hours. They come back just in time to get their trip. The clients that we're targeting is about 0.5% of the total cruise ship market, which makes our whole business sustainable for a second helicopter. We take them for an hour flight around the Cabot Trail, and these individuals can pay for that experience. But now they're back in Sydney, they're putting money into our pubs and our stores in downtown. So the local economic benefits are huge. Absolutely. I'll call back.
If you have to take that, I can step up here. That's the $1 million guy calling you back.
Yeah, no, in the fight, it's like other people we gave offers and deals to. It's funny how they'll come running back looking to get in now once you're up and running. So, take advantage of the resources around here. Coastal was amazing. We went in, talked to Patricia, sat down the business plan, and it was smooth. They loved it. They saw the potential, and we got funding. Same with the COA. And really, I can't talk much about the plans, but this is the small potatoes and stuff we're working on. We're looking at opportunities that will really grow and increase Sydney Airport, create a lot of jobs and a lot of economics. Because for us, it's way more than just flying tours around.
So do you have a backup pilot or extra people lined up for?
Yeah. Yeah. So Matt's our president and chief pilot, and we have a hopper of guys from the Air Force who are super interested in flying with us. I get people requesting to fly with us every other day. An individual today came in and wanted to fly with us because what we do is fun. When you're flying, say with some of the other companies where you're doing the daily off the rigs, you're a bus driver at the end of the day. For us, we're flying people around. They're having the best time of the summer, and they're loving it. So everybody's pumped, everybody's stoked, and taking a helicopter to go fly fishing is pretty sweet. So the pilots are loving it, and yeah, we have no issues getting people to move to Sydney because they're seeing that potential, and the requests are already coming.
Anything else?
Just want to say I used the service about a week and a half ago.
Oh,
I
yes.
had some people in from Houston and they loved it. We went around the trail with the helicopter. We were back in an hour and a half. And
Oh, nice.
had lobsters.
Yeah.
But it was great. And that was like, there's a lot of people who move here that help too, because all I did was make one phone call to the gentleman in Houston, told him we had a helicopter service, and if he wanted to use it, that was it. It was an easy sell, right? But just because I just made a call.
Yeah.
So, the opportunity could be for anybody here to make that call.
So that I can do anything.
Yeah, and he was very good.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
He knows a lot about the island, and he was excellent.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Did you fly with them, Johnny? Or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Couldn't ask for better. Chris, enjoyed it.
So one of the things you talked about, you talked about the great potential within Cape Breton, the golf courses, the scenery, the seafood. A lot of the times during the day, every day I hear about the challenges of Cape Breton, that we're losing people to out-migration, people are leaving the island. How did you pitch a vision for bringing a helicopter airport to this area? And what was your vision for what will make this area successful for your business? If you were to look 5 years and say, this is what we need to do in the island to expand and to not only have potential, but have people coming back to this island in full force.
Yeah. Well, for us, it came down to is we see it as more of a cultural and the identity shift in Cape Breton, where I'm not from Cape Breton, Matt is, but we talk about it all the time. It's Cape Breton is slowly starting to work as a team. The municipalities are getting tighter, and I think as a whole, Cape Breton has identified this incredible island that we have, which is it's ridiculous. So us doing this, and you look at the ecotourism, you look at just all the tourism in general, in the wintertime, going skiing up in the Highlands. I got a prototype that can sling 4 sleds underneath a 412 and drop somebody up in the Highlands. I think once we embrace that Cape Breton as a whole is a tourism kind of based island, then we'll embrace it. And there's so many things that are stopping growth and impeding growth. Everybody thinks we'd be against the airport in Inverness because we take care of all the private jets that come here. I am all for it. There's limitations with the airport in Port Hawkesbury. So when we started looking at this business, Celtic Air didn't exist. And we wrote off Port Hawkesbury as a viable airport. The weather's terrible and it's not long enough. So a G5 can't land there. And those are great corporate jets. They can come into Sydney, but now with our 412, we can get them to the course in 20 minutes. So we're still getting this helicopter. We're calling it the Chariot of the North, the Golf Chariot of the North. And what we're going to be able to do is really kind of highlight Cape Breton, but then tie in the whole Maritimes for a trip that you just can't do without a helicopter. So being a maritime region is really good if you have a twin engine helicopter that can fly over water. So I can go to Cabot I go to the Highlands to Cabot, I can go to Crowbush. It's like a 15-minute flight to Crowbush, but it's going to take you 7 hours in the car, right? So it's right there, and then we can come back. And now we're giving that experience, we're giving the story, and that is going to really draw people in. We have all the assets here, and it's just what's the value add that we put to it to make it that much more enticing. And every other business that's starting is doing it for us. They're making the attractions. We're just connected to us.
How do you sell it? How do you market your services? Or do you rely on cabinets and, the big guys to point
Yeah,
them to?
so 100%. We're a business-to-business company who's solely utilizing our business relationships to sell our services. We're hustling a bit now just because we need to. But the way we're structured is Cabot promotes us as Cabot service. So what do? We'll compensate Cabot accordingly for the business that they give us. They do all the direct marketing to their clients. For me to put a marketing campaign to advertise to Cabot's clients, I'd be bankrupt. Couldn't do it, right? But they can. And then we give them what they want, which is client time and opportunities to use our service to give a better experience for their clients. So it's all about looking at angles that you can leverage what you have with what somebody else has to not spend any money because I'm cheap as can be. That's probably.
Well, thanks, Parker. That was a great story, and I think.
And I brought some hats.
We brought some hats too. So we are giving away $100 to Breton Air.
You can.
So if you want to get your business card in the little box in the drawer
Register for
over
sale.
there. So we'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that. And you have to listen to me talk for a couple minutes. So just a friendly reminder that our Sprint and Accelerate applications close on Monday, on September 9th. So while you're all storm safe this weekend, it's a great opportunity to work on your applications for that. There's still time to register for Sales Atlantic, and that's our 2-day sales conference happening next week at Member 2, and that starts on Monday as well. We're launching a Punch Pass card in the near future, so stay tuned because we're going to be giving away some cool swag and probably some custom blended coffee. So for all those people that are working the startup grind, I think that will be appropriate. As well, we have a podcast that's launching soon. And you guys heard it here first. We're going bowling for our fall social this year, and that's on October 24th. And I want to give a shout out to Navigate as well, because they're doing an event in partnership with us and NSCC, and it's Building Your Business lunch series, and that's happening every Wednesday in October. So more details about that will be out soon. And I hear there's going to be a great ad in the Quebec Post. So if you're a newspaper subscriber, check out that. And as well, our morning mixer happens every Monday in Navigate Startup Post from 10 to 10:30. And all you have to do is bring your own mug. So we don't do dishes on Mondays. So thanks everyone for coming. Feel free to hang out and network, grab another beer. There's lots of snacks left. If you want to book a flight with Parker, I'm sure he's going to hang out for a while.
Terrible idea.
And yeah, our next TecSocial will be October 3rd. So thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, sorry.